Hey guys, Broheen here from the Gamers Emporium channel. How's everybody today? I don't have a face cam up just for the simple fact of this is a instructional guide for the God mode barbarian build, so I want to utilize the most of the screen because I'm going to overlay some things here, so which you more than likely already see. So this barbarian build, obviously level 70. I am now 429 Paragon, so what we're going to do is go through the we'll go through the inventory first for what you need, and then we'll go through the skills, and we'll take a look at the Paragon, and we'll show you what to use for gems and what to use for the Unity setup with your followers. So let's take a dive right in here. So inventory, I'm going to start off right at the top. This is going to utilize the Royal Ring of Grandeur, which I got right here. You'll see over on the right hand side. The PS4 version is kind of goofy. I don't like the inventory setup compared to PC, but you know what, my friends play on PS4 and it's more fun playing with them, so this is what we're doing. So if you look over on the right side under the equip column, you'll see the Royal Ring of Grandeur. Now what this is going to do is it's going to make it so it reduces the number of items needed for your set bonus. So for instance, you can use 5 pieces of a 6-piece set, and this royal ring will count as both. So what we're actually using here is going to be 2-piece Immortal Kings. You're going to want the helmet, and you're going to want the belt. What this is going to provide is your Call of the Ancients are going to last until they die. So that's pretty crucial for this build here. If they die, you're either one of two things are going to happen depending on the way you play. You're either going to take a huge damage increase for incoming damage because you won't get that 50% reduction, which we'll go through later, or you won't get the additional fury, consistently get the additional fury from having your ancients up, which is going to either make or break the spec one way or another. The other set we're going to use is the Wrath of the Waste set. And what this is going to do is your 2-piece increases your damage of Ren by 500%. Your 4-piece gives you your 40% damage reduction for while you're using Whirlwind. And then the 6-piece set makes your Whirlwind gain the effect of the Dust Devil's rune and increases your Dust Devil's damage by 2500%. So this spec is definitely based on Whirlwind and doing your damage for the most part with the Dust Devils and Rend. However, you get to pick another rune for your Whirlwind, which we'll go through in a moment. So the way I use this here is for the helmet, we use the Immortal King's Triumph with a diamond in it. For the chest, we use Cuirass of the Waste, all spec'd with rubies. If you're dying a lot, you can sub diamonds into these pieces too. That'll give you the extra resistance, but I typically don't have a problem with 40 plus greater rifts. The shoulders, you're going to use the Pauldrons of the Waste. Hands or Gauntlets of the Waste. Your weapon, we'll get the weapons last. The belt is Immortal King's Tribal Binding. Your pants are Tacit of the Wastes. Boots, Sabaton of the Wastes. For rings, we're going with the Unity and Royal Ring of Grandeur setup. For the, what do you want to call it, wrists, you want to use the Ancient Parthan Defenders. These are going to make each stunned enemy within 25 yards reduce your damage taken by 10%. And then for the amulet, we have a Hellfire Amulet rolled with the Ruthless passive. Now for your gems that we have in here, you're going to want to use Taeguk. Mine is a 64 stack currently. I believe it's level 44. I'm pretty sure it's 44. So that's a 0.5% increased armor and damage per stack times 64. For in your rings, what we're going to use is Gogok of Swiftness. That's mine's at 75% chance on hit to gain an additional 1% attack speed, stacks up to 15 times. And on the Unity, we have Bane of the Trap, because once this is leveled up to level 25, it procs itself. So basically, you have an aura that's around you that reduces the speed of enemies by 30%. Now this counts as a control effect, so any enemy under the effects of a control effect take an additional 27.3% damage. So using this at level 25 is basically free damage, so I don't know why you wouldn't want to use a Bane of the Trapped in any build that you have, because it is free damage, literally free damage. So now with the weapons, this is another set. Right now we're using the Bolcathos Oath. So this is two one-handers, and what they do is the two-piece set gives you plus 10 Fury generation, and during Whirlwind you get a 30% increased attack speed and movement speed. So the higher your attack speed is, the more of the little dust devils you'll have. And if you take a look in the background, I'm sure that you can see I'm whirlwinding quite a lot, and when those dust devils tick, holy crap, do they do some damage. So, and it keeps going up and up because of your Taeguk. So once you have that at max stacks, you do some pretty hefty damage. So it's pretty damn good. So now, as far as the skills go, we're going to use my X skill here is kind of up for debate. We'll cover that last. But mainly, you want to keep up Wrath of the Berserker 100% ideally. I'm not quite there yet. However, if I change the build up from what I'm using a little bit, you can maintain it for 100% uptime. The Call of the Ancients, Wrath of the Berserker, you want to use the Striding Giant rune. 50% reduction to all damage taken. For Call of the Ancients, you want to use Together as One. This is going to take 50% of all your damage dealt to you is divided evenly between the Ancients. We're going to also use Rend with the Bloodbath rune. So Rend originally does 1100% weapon damage as physical over 5 seconds. Because of your set, this is increased an extra 500%. And with the Bloodbath rune, it causes enemies that are killed while they're bleeding from Rend to transfer their Rend effect 10 yards to other enemies around them, doing the 1600% weapon damage as physical over, actually it's 15 seconds with a two-piece set. So it's not terrible, not the best, but not terrible. It's worth using. Battle Rage, we're going to use that, keep that up 100% of the time, increases your damage and crit hit chance, and with the Bloodshed rune, your critical hits cause an explosion of blood, dealing 20% of the damage done to all other nearby enemies. And then Whirlwind, the bread and butter of this spec, is deliver multiple attacks, everything in your path for 340% weapon damage, and then because we get the effect of Dust Devils from our set, we're going to use Blood Funnel instead for survivability, and it keeps it as physical damage. So we're going to crit hit 1% of your maximum, critical hits restore 1% of your maximum life. So this spec is basically spec towards physical damage, so as much physical damage as you can get. I don't have very much stuff on my spec here for physical damage increase, but if you can get those rolls for physical damage increase, totally worth it. So we have Ruthless on the Hellfire Amulet for passive, so we don't need to take Ruthless. But what we are going to take is Nerves of Steel, because that's your basic free life. Weapons Master is going to be your form of Fury regeneration, so whenever you're hitting an enemy, because you're using mighty weapons, you get 2 Fury per hit. We're going to use Rampage because 1% strength for 8 seconds stacked up to 25 times for killing or assisting in a friendly one killing an enemy. So that's definitely good. That's another 25% strength, which is a huge increase. And then we're using Boon of Balkathos. This is kind of up for change depending on how you run the specs. So we use this so that way Wrath of the Berserker is 30% less cooldown. But you can change this depending on what you're doing. If you want more damage, you can change it to Brawler, and you can get that extra increase of 20% damage while there are 3 enemies. However, that's not as good for Rift Guardians, so I chose to run Boon of Balkathos so I can get Wrath of the Berserker for when I'm fighting Rift Guardians and get that extra damage, because Brawler will give you no effect for that kind of situation. So let's see what else. There's something else. Oh yeah, our Furious Charge. Our one ability, Furious Charge, I've noticed with the way running this spec, you can do one of 2 things. I use Furious Charge because when you're in a rift and you go through these little areas where you might not have many mobs or many enemies to kill, and you start to run out of fury because you can't stop whirlwinding. You have to keep whirlwinding non-stop in order to keep your stacks of Taeguk up. So you run out of stamina by the time you get up to the next mob, so you can Furious Charge right into the middle real quick, and for the most part that generates all of your fury back. A different option that might be good for this would be Ground Stomp, because with your Ancient Parthan Defenders, you'll get that 10% decrease in damage taken for every enemy that's around you that is stunned. And if you were going to use this, you want to use Ground Stop with Wrenching Smash. It'll pull everything close to you, it'll stun everything for 4 seconds, and basically it'll generate Fury too, but just not as fast of Fury generation as what Furious Charge would. So, but I guess depending on how you want to play, offensively or defensively, Ground Stop is a good option instead of Furious Charge for that scenario. So we're gonna keep it at this for now, just because you won't see me using this in the video that's behind what we're talking about right now, but the Furious Charge does help quite a lot. So as far as Paragon goes, you want to make sure your movement speed gets up to 25%. Keep in mind that your 25% includes the movement speed increase from your gear. So let's say you have a 12% on your boots, you only want to move this movement speed up to 13% to make you get that 25%. I unfortunately don't have that on the boots, so I use my Paragon here. If for vitality, I would say if you're over 350,000 to 400,000 health, then I would say just pump all of your items or all of your Paragon into strength, and don't worry about maximum fury at all. If you are under 350,000 life, then I would pump some into vitality and then the rest into strength, just to make sure you get that extra life and defense in there. So for offense, you want to pump into attack speed, well, crit hit damage first, attack speed second, and crit hit chance last. The alternative reason why we do attack speed is because that's more Dust Devils, which means that's more damage output. So you could potentially switch your attack speed with crit hit chance, depends on how you want to play, and then follow up last with cooldown reduction. For your utility, you want to make sure that you get area damage up all the way first, life on hit second, resource cost reduction third, and then gold find last. And then for defense, you want to make sure you get your armor and resist all up all the way. Personally, I don't think it makes a difference which one you do first, but make sure your life comes third, and then life regen comes last. Now, we talked about Unity briefly. So Unity is also going to make all damage taken is split between wearers of this item. So this comes into play when you have a follower. The Templar is the best to use for this. However, I don't have the item to make your follower not die. So the only way this is really going to work is on this follower, on the Scoundrel, I have a skeleton key. So if you look over to the right, equip on a follower, your follower cannot die. So with that being said, you're going to split 50% damage between you and your follower, and your follower can't die, so it's always going to be a 50% damage reduction, and that is really the key on how you get to solo the higher greater rifts. At least above 40, it seems to be helping a ton, so there's no reason to not do that. Other than that, you can spec him out for anything, really. It doesn't really make a difference what he uses. I use everything on the left side. He does some utility stuff. I try to spec my follower for more utility, but just make sure that he's wearing the Unity ring also. And that's pretty much it. So, general consensus, you want a Whirlwind nonstop. You want to make sure it's safe and you're not totally in the middle of like a blue or yellow pack when you rend, because when you rend, it stops you from whirlwinding. So for that second that it takes to rend, you're actually going to take an extra 40% damage because you lose that set bonus from whirlwinding from the waist set when you stop whirlwinding. You want to use your Wrath of the Berserker and keep Wrath of the Berserker up as close to, if not 100% of the time. And then you want to keep up your shout for the extra damage. And your ancients, you can put down, you only have to cast them once. The only reason to ever cast them a second time is for if one of them dies, then the damage is split 50-50 between you and them, but they only have 2 left to soak up that damage. So they'll die faster once they start losing their strength in numbers, if you will. And then your ground stomp. Remember that when you're whirlwinding, you're going to take the extra damage when you ground stomp, but it shouldn't be too much of an issue if you go back to Whirlwind literally right after you ground stomp, because of the fact that everything will be stunned and should be taking more damage. And that'll work good too if you don't have a level 25 Bane of the Trap gem. So, but other than that, that's how you run it. So we'll show a little bit of gameplay footage here afterwards, and you guys can check out what it's really about. And hopefully this guide helped you. So if you like the guide, if you like the build, I apologize again, it's on PS4, but if you liked what I did here, please hit the like button. Make sure you guys are subscribing to me. We got some good stuff coming up, especially with the new games that are going to be coming out. And that's about it. So like, subscribe, comment, let me know what you think, and I will get back to you literally as soon as I can. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one.